Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Jaya Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai, Nityananda Rai, Jaya Nityananda Rai. Oh Nitai Hey, Nitai Hey, Nitai Hey, Nitai Hey, Nitai Hey. Agora hey, Gora hey, Gora hey, Gora hey, Gora hey, Gora hey, Gora hey, Jaya Radha, Madan Mohan Radha, Madan Mohan Radha, Jaya Radha, Jaya Radha, Govinda Radha, Govinda Radha, Radha, Govinda Radha, Govinda Radha. Jaya Radha, Gopinatha Radha, Gopinatha Radha, Radha, Gopinatha Radha, Gopinatha Radha. Oh Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Oh Radhe, 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 Radhe. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Ganhavika Giridhari Radha Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai Nityananda Rai Ki Jai Satchinandana Gaura Hari Ki Jai Jai Nityalila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nityalila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Nityalila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Jagat Guru Nityalila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasara Shishimad Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Paramahamsa Mahabhagavat Shila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Saptam Goswami Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Shila Baladev Vidibhushan Gauri Varantaracharya Ki Jai Shila Vishnath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai Jai Narottam Srinivas Shyamanath Prabhu Traya Ki Jai Jai Shila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami Ki Jai Jai Roop Sanatan Shibata Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Zaraganath Sat Goswami Prabhu's Ki Jai Jai Swarup Damodar Rai Ramananda Gold Prasad Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sikahol Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Shri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Jamuna Ki Jai Brihat Mridanga Ki Jai Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai Nam Bhajan Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Siddhashan Chakra Ki Jai Shingadev Bhagavan Ki Jai Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai Srila Jiva Goswami Pad Abhirbhav Ki Jai Jiva Goswami Pad Abhirbhav Ki Jai Shri Vaman deva Mahadwadasi Ki Jai Srila Vaman deva Mahadwadasi Ki Jai Ananta Koda Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol Om Agina Timirandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasmaye Shri Guruve Namaha Guruve Gaura Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadavaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantamanapetyamapeti Krityam Dvaipaino Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tam Mayatayo Taravo Vinedustam Sarvabhutam Hridim Munimanatoshmi Bhaktya Vihina Aparara Lakshay Shiptas Chakarmadi Tarangamadye Kripamayitvam Sharanam Prapana Vrinde Namaste Charanada Vindam Vajami Radam Aravinda Netram Smarami Radam Madhurashmitasyam Vadami Radam Karuna Baradram Tato Mamanasti Katina Kapi Tavaivasmi najivami tvaivina iti vignaya rate tvam nayamam charanantikam. I'm first of all offering millions and millions of Dandavat pranams unto the lotus feet of my beloved Gurudev, Nityalila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasarashishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And I'm offering the same again millions and millions of times unto the lotus feet of my beloved Nityalila Pravishta Om Asto Tarasarashishimad Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And unto all our illustrious Rupanuga Guru Vargya, and all the Vaishnav and Vaishnavi devotees of the Lord, my Dandavat pranams to all of you. Hare Krishna. So today is a most auspicious day, most exceptional day. We have two tithis today. The Avirbhav, appearance day of Jiva Goswami. And we have the appearance of Vaman deva on this Mahadwadasi. So I'm going to speak as much as time allows on both of these topics, and we'll just see how we go. So first of all, I'll speak on Jiva Goswami. So Jiva Goswami, as we all know, was the son of Anupam, who was the brother of Rupa and Sanatan, the younger brother. So when Jiva Goswami was a very small child in Ramkeli with his three brothers, with three uncles, Anupam, Sanatan, and Rupa Goswami. And Mahaprabhu, he visited that place of Ramkeli. Mahaprabhu, we understand, is omniscient, and he knows all across Bharatvarsh where all his Nitya Siddha Parikas are residing. And at different times, he would go to those particular places and pull those parikas to him. And when he returns from his South Indian preaching tour, there's a beautiful chapter 9, I think, in Madhya Lila, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where all the followers, 9 or 10, where all the followers come to Puri. They all congregate and celebrate their eternal relationship with Mahaprabhu. So in 1515, when Mahaprabhu is on his journey to Vrindavan, and he comes to the city of Ramkeli. Ramkeli is that place where the Muslims had their capital. And this is where Rupa and Sanatan and his brother Anupam were working for the Nawab of Bengal, Hussein Shah. And they had been coerced into working for the Muslims on the order that if they didn't work for them, that the Nawab would prosecute all the various Vaishnavas, because he understood how much Rupa and Sanatan and Anupam were favorably disposed to the Vaishnavas. They would have many Vaishnava assemblies, sabhas, and they would meet all the Vaishnavas regularly. So Hussein Shah knew that. So he, in English we say, press ganged them into that service. And then Mahaprabhu, he knew his eternal associates were residing there, so he goes to Ramkeli, which is today, by car, it's about 6-8 hours drive north of Navadvip. And Mahaprabhu goes there. Of course, he's walking in those days, not going by car. And this is that time when Rupa and Sanatan are described as coming to visit Mahaprabhu in the night, very secretly, for a very short time, because they are very important ministers. One is the prime minister, and the other is the treasurer of the whole of Nawab Hussein Shah's kingdom, and his kingdom was vast. So they come disguised at night, just wearing simple loincloths, etc. They take off all their royal clothes. And they also, at that time, they bring the baby Jiva Goswami with them. Jiva Goswami at this time is described that he took his birth in 1513. So Mahaprabhu's visit to Ramkeli is 1515. That's what's described. So Jiva Goswami would have been 2 years old. His father would have still been alive then, because when Rupa Goswami first goes to Prayag and meets the Lord, he's with Anupam at that time. And then after, when he comes back to Bengal after that, then he goes to Vrindavan first with Anupam, but when he comes back, then Anupam leaves his body at that time. So Anupam leaves his body when Jiva Goswami is very, very young. But this time, Jiva Goswami is blessed with the divine lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's placed on the feet of Mahaprabhu. So this creates such an impression in the for the soul within the body of that personality, which is going to be lasting his entire life. So he claims himself, Jiva Goswami, he never met Rupa Goswami because he doesn't remember the occasion when he received that blessing from Mahaprabhu. But Mahaprabhu gives him all his blessings at that time, knowing that he won't see him again. And then we know the story that Rupa and Sanatan, they escape from Nawab. And at that time, Jiva Goswami remains with his mother, quite close to that area in the same sort of proximity. And he remains with his mother till he's about 20 years old. And by this time, he's always wanting to come to Puridam to meet the Lord, but he's too young to go and he's taking care of his mother. So he can't come. But then when his mother leaves her body, and he knows, he's understanding that Mahaprabhu has already left this world. Mahaprabhu leaves in 1536. That's when he leaves. So in 1537, Jiva Goswami goes to Navadvip, knowing that Nityananda Prabhu is still performing his manifest pastimes. And he comes to Navadvip, and Nityananda and all the Vaishnavas there recognize his divine effulgence. Jiva Goswami was born with exceptional physiognomy. The beauty of his features, the length of his arms reached his knees, which indicates a very potent personality, a very, powerful personality. Just like Mahaprabhu, his hands reached his knees, and Nityananda also. So he was a very effulgent personality. And in his childhood, he was like a child prodigy. And Rupa Goswami would continually support him. When Rupa Goswami left the Nawab's service, he took, it's described, 2 boatloads of wealth with him. And much of that wealth was used to support his nephew's education, etc., and well-being of his family. So Jiva Goswami grew up in an atmosphere of sufficient needs. Everything that he needed was all supplied. But he was incredibly brilliant when he went to the local Gurukul there. He excelled in Sanskrit immediately, and they considered him like a protege. He was so brilliant. So he remains there until he's around about in the early 20s. And then he goes to Navadvip at the demise of his mother, and he meets Nityananda Prabhu, who is overjoyed to meet him. Of course, Jiva Goswami, he prostrates his body at the lotus feet of Nityananda, takes the dust of lotus feet of Nityananda. Nityananda, at that time, takes him to the home of Sachimata. And Vishnu Priya is there, and she's cooking for Jiva Goswami. Then he takes him to the home of Srivas Thakur. Srivas Thakur is an elderly man still there, but he's still there alive. And he takes him to see all the different elevated Vaishnavas. But then more than that, he takes him on the first Navadvip Parikrama. And this is recorded by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Navadvip Mahatmya. In here, this is the pastime of Jiva Goswami going with Nityananda to all the 9 islands in Navadvip. He takes him and describes personally, Nityananda, all the different pastimes and the stalis, the holy places where Mahaprabhu actually went in all these 9 islands. And then Jiva Goswami, he wants to stay with Nityananda at that time, but Nityananda knows his pastimes are going to wrap up very soon because he leaves this world approximately 1537. It's about a year or so later than Mahaprabhu. He was only remaining just to meet Jiva Goswami. This is how important Jiva Goswami is to our entire Sampradaya. Mahaprabhu came with a mission. He came with a mission to give the Jivas Rag Marg. So that mission was very much calculated according to the personalities of Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, who were going to write the direct doctrines from Mahaprabhu's heart into this world to keep this line running. Without these scriptures, without these granthas, this line will not continue in the correct manner. It will become deviated, which we see historically actually happen later on. But so Nityananda, he orders Jiva Goswami to go to Vrindavan with his two uncles, Rupa and Sanatan, and to take up service there. But on his way, he stops in Varanasi and he takes shelter of the disciple of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is actually like Brihaspati from the spiritual world with his knowledge. So his disciple, Madhusudan Vachaspati, was a brilliant, brilliant scholar. So Jiva, being brilliant also, he takes shelter there for about 12 months, practically a year. And actually today in Varanasi, the biggest department in the University of Varanasi, the main University of Varanasi, is dedicated to Jiva Goswami and all his works. Jiva Goswami wrote more than 400,000 shlokas, 400,000 verses. And we can get an understanding of that. Srimad Bhagavatam itself is 18,000 verses. Bhagavad Gita is 700 verses. So 400,000 verses is so extensive amount of contribution. Jiva Goswami was one of the principal, most erudite scholars of all the 6 Goswamis. So he was completely equipped to fulfill Mahaprabhu's mission and delineate on all the different topics, particularly in his Sandarbhas. His Sandarbhas are the greatest jewel to this world. But then Jiva Goswami, he continues his journey after he's absorbed the teachings of Madhusudan Vachaspati and done many writings there also in his early days, documents, articles and so on, which have been preserved today in the Varanasi University. Then he goes to Vrindavan and he meets Rupa and Sanatan. And Sanatan takes him and he's their nephew, their brother. He's the son of Anupam. Anupam is their brother. So Anupam's left this world. So then Sanatan Goswami takes him to Rupa Goswami and says, now he places him in the hands of Rupa Goswami. Now you should take care of this young Jiva. So for many years then, Jiva Goswami is with Rupa Goswami. I haven't calculated exactly how many years, but I'm not sure, but it was a length of time. And Jiva Goswami became exactly like the disciple of Rupa Goswami. Whenever we refer to Jiva Goswami's father, we should call his father Rupa Goswami. His father really is not. Seminally, it's Anupam, but spiritually, it's Rupa Goswami. So he should be referred to as the son or Shishya of Rupa Goswami.
Rupa Goswami is his guru.
Yes.
Diksha guru.
Yes, completely. Gave him everything. And then Jiva Goswami would take care of so many services for Rupa Goswami. He would collect the parchment leaf that Rupa Goswami was writing on. He would collect the ink and so on, collect the quills that he was using to write. He would massage Rupa Goswami, put cooling oil on his head, etc. Do so many services, prepare his prashadam, etc. So many menial services he would do for Rupa Goswami, therefore incurring so much mercy from Rupa Goswami. And there came a time when one elderly Vaishnava, there's actually two occasions, but this one occasion, well, I'll say the other one first. There was a Digvijay, that means he had defeated all the pundits in all the areas of India. And he came and he wanted to challenge Rupa and Sanatan in Vrindavan. He knew they were very brilliant scholars, but Rupa and Sanatan were not into debates of anything of that nature. So they just signed his paper, said, yes, you've defeated us. Very good, go away. But Jiva Goswami, he couldn't tolerate that when he was approached. So he debated with that Digvijay and completely purified him and defeated him totally. And when Rupa and Sanatan found this out, they were not really happy with that. Even though Jiva Goswami was doing the actual correct thing for a disciple, at the same time, Rupa Goswami was not happy that he would have involved himself in such an activity because he didn't do it himself. So this was one activity, one defeat of a Digvijay Pandit. This is just to demonstrate how erudite he was. But the second occasion is when Ballabha Bhattacharya came to the kutia of Rupa Goswami and inquired what Rupa Goswami was writing. And Rupa Goswami showed him his manuscript of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And Ballabha Bhattacharya, he briefly looked at that. But he found what he thought to be some discrepancy, some fault. And he requested Rupa Goswami, oh, perhaps you'll let me edit this text. I will edit this text. Ballabha Bhattacharya is a very erudite personality also. And he has his place in Prayag, on the other side of the river from Prayag. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went there to visit him. And then he goes to Puri, and he's carrying his commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam with him. And he's very proud of it. And Mahaprabhu, he, through a very beautiful pastime, he gradually purifies that pride that Ballabha Bhattacharya has in his scholarship, because Ballabha Bhattacharya is saying that his commentary is even better than Sridhar Swami. And Mahaprabhu responds, if anyone doesn't support Sridhar Swami, they are like a prostitute. And every single day he was cutting him. Finally, Ballabha Bhattacharya accepted defeat and surrendered submissively, fully at the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But at this time, this is later, of course, much later, he comes to Vrindavan and he sees the text. So he has, everyone has respect for his scholarship. So Rupa Goswami is very gentle with him and says, yes, you can certainly edit it. Then he goes to take his bath in Jamuna, and Jiva Goswami follows him and says, oh, what discrepancy did you say that you feel you want to edit my Gurudev's writings? And then Vallabha Bhattacharya, he says this verse, Bhukti Mukti Spriha Javat Vischachi Hridi Bharatate, that the two witches of Bhukti and Mukti, liberation, reside in the heart of the jivas. But this cannot be possible. But then Jiva Goswami, he explains that it's not the witch itself, it's the desire of the sadhak to attain bhukti and mukti. This is what is the fault with this verse. This is what the writings of Rupa Goswami are indicating, that it's not bhukti and mukti by itself. Liberation by itself is not a negative, bad thing, so to speak, but the desire for that. If the sadhak has a desire for that, that is going to be detrimental to his bhajan. So Jiva Goswami explained very, very beautifully this very subtle point. And Ballabha Bhattacharya, he got it, understood completely, and went back to Rupa Goswami and said, oh, you have a very intelligent disciple, and I don't need to look at your work at all. It's perfect the way you have it. And then he left. And then Rupa Goswami becomes very angry, very unhappy with Jiva Goswami. Why did you contradict this old man? Ballabha Bhattacharya is a senior man. Why did you challenge him on this point of Shastra and then defeated him like that? This is Rupa Goswami was not happy at all with that. My Gurudev explains that Jiva Goswami did exactly the correct thing, and Rupa Goswami is also doing the correct thing in this case. But then he banished Jiva Goswami from his company, and Jiva Goswami becomes mortified and goes to Nandagaon, and he finds like a crocodile cave, it's described, and he resides in there, just weeping and weeping and weeping in great sadness and unhappiness at being separated from Rupa Goswami. And one day, Sanatan Goswami is coming through that same village in Nandagaon, and the residents, they say, oh, we thought only you and Rupa Goswami were weeping so much, but there's a young boy down by the Yamuna, and he's weeping also, even more than you. So then Sanatan Goswami, he has an idea, maybe this is Jiva Goswami. He goes there and he finds Jiva Goswami practically on the point of death. Actually, he's become very sick, emaciated, diseased, etc., practically not eating properly. So then his heart melts and he brings him to Rupa Goswami. But before he brings him to Rupa Goswami, he asks Rupa Goswami, what is our purpose in life? And Rupa Goswami says to liberate the conditioned jivas, to help with the jiva. And Sanatan Goswami says, well, what about this jiva? And then he brings Jiva Goswami in, the young boy Jiva. And Rupa Goswami, he heart melts and embraces Jiva Goswami. And again, very quickly, they revive his health, etc., and bring him back to health. But Jiva Goswami, after Rupa and Sanatan left this world, Jiva Goswami becomes the Mahant of all the Goswamis in Vrindavan. He takes the lead role. And he instructs Narottam Das, Srinivasacharya, Shyamananda. All these personalities come into his school. And he resides in Radha Damodar. And he worships the deity that Rupa Goswami made of Radha Damodar. That's his Ishtadev. And at one point he goes to, I'm trying to make it short now. One point he goes to Agra. And because Akbar has made a challenge, who is more superior, Ganga or Jamuna? But Jiva Goswami, they want Jiva Goswami to come and preside at this Sabha in Agra. And Jiva Goswami says, well, I've taken a vow never to leave Vrindavan. So King Akbar says, well, look, I'll provide a very fast chariot for you to take you and bring you back on the same day and give you 4 or 5 hours to meet in the assembly. Actually, physically, Akbar is only about 30 kilometers away from Vrindavan. So that's arranged so Jiva Goswami can actually keep his fixed vow. But in that assembly, Jiva Goswami supports the understanding that actually Jamuna Devi is superior because she consorts directly with Krishna when Krishna bathes in the Jamuna. And Ganga Devi is emanating from the lotus feet of Krishna. But that is not as superior as Jamuna Devi, who actually consorts directly with Krishna as a Sakhi, as Kalindi and Vishaka. So we can look at it from either way because Mahaprabhu also bathes in the Ganga. So anyway, at the time, that was the consent, that was the victory for Jamuna Devi. So also at that time, King Akbar, he comes to Vrindavan actually. He meets Jiva Goswami there and he asks, he's very impressed with Jiva Goswami, asks him what he can do to support his works. And Jiva Goswami requests him to assist him to help to build the Govinda Ji Mandir and the Gopinath Mandir and the modern Mohan Mandir. He supports that. And also the Radha Damodar temple. So Jiva Goswami was influential in arranging for these temples to be constructed. And also at that time, he requests the king to please make a ban on any animal hunting within this whole region of Brajamandal. And no human should ever be killed here, you know, as punishment, etc. Anyone should be taken out to Delhi or somewhere like that. So Jiva Goswami, and he also, Jiva Goswami, he enumerated all of the land holdings around Radhakund. You can read it today even. There's a little booklet and it tells all the different plots of land and which families, etc., are taking their claim, so to speak. Even today it comes down. So these are all the Goswamis that get allotted different pieces. So Jiva Goswami did all this enumerating. Jiva Goswami is such an incredible person, incredible personality. The books that he wrote, like Gopal Champu, and his Sandarbhas, this Tattva Sandarbha, the Bhagavat Sandarbha, the Krishna Sandarbha, Paramatma Sandarbha, Priti Sandarbha, the last one. So there's 6 beautiful Sandarbhas where Jiva Goswami completely opens out the whole Srimad Bhagavatam and describes the particular Siddhantas all the way through. And when he comes to the Priti Sandarbha, it's describing the intricacies of devotion. So sometimes Jiva Goswami is criticized for supporting Swakiya Ras. Swakiya Ras is the marital relationship, but Jiva Goswami is a full disciple of Rupa Goswami. So whatever Rupa Goswami conceptions are, Jiva Goswami holds the same. And he claims that he had to write sometimes, according to the people at the time, about Swakiya, just to maintain those people in devotion. So he gives some indication about Sakya, support, but his principal Siddhanta is all around Parakiya Bhav. So in Gopal Champu, in the last 5 chapters, it's like a Swakiya arrangement that Radha and Krishna are sitting there married, etc. So Gopal Champu is basically the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. But then he gave the grammar books, the Vyakaran, what's it? Harinam Vikaran, these grammar books on Sanskrit. So he gave such a voluminous quantity of time and energy and arrangements for the manifestation of Vrindavan as we have it today with the temples and so on, and such a remarkable contribution to Mahaprabhu's mission. So this is just a little window into appreciation of Jiva Goswami. We can't glorify him sufficiently in such a short space of time, but there are whole institutions around that just glorify him constantly, 12 months of the year. His contributions are so extensive. So Jiva Goswami Pad Ki Jai. So now today is also the appearance day of Vaman deva from the sacrificial arena of Bali Maharaj. But first of all, a little bit of history. Bali Maharaj, he was actually killed in a battle between the demigods and the demons. This is described in the 11th chapter of the 8th canto. Bali Maharaj lost his life. Bali Maharaj is the king of the demons. He's a great king. He's actually a Mahajan, one of the 12 Mahajans, Bali Maharaj. And he was killed in the battle. But Sukracharya, by his mystic potency, brought him back to life again. And from that time onwards, Sukracharya became his spiritual master. Sukracharya is in the line of Bhrigu Muni and all the descendants of Bhrigu Muni, who is a great rishi in the heavenly planets, Bhrigu Muni. So Sukracharya is coming through this line. So Sukracharya was encouraging his disciple Bali Maharaj to have a yajna, which was supported by all the brahmanas from Bhrigu Muni's descendants. And they had a very potent yajna, and from that yajna were produced an incredible chariot and 2 quivers, unending arrows were there, weapons, and a bow, and a suit of impregnable armor was produced, and so many celestial weapons of war were actually produced, which Bali Maharaj took. And then Sukracharya gave him the order, now you can attack Indrapuri. So he goes with his huge army, and it's described he's looking like 1,000,000 suns because he's so radiant and so much potent, actually, Bali Maharaj. And he comes to the city of Indradev with all his demigods inside the city. And Indra, he sees Bali Maharaj approaching as if he's going to gobble the whole world. His strength and power is so immense. And then Indradev runs to Brihaspati, his spiritual master. What can we do? What should we do? What's our direction now? Brihaspati can see in his meditation, Bali Maharaj has all the backing of all the brahmanas. from Bhrigu Muni. You cannot defeat him now. Sukracharya, he has ordered him to do this. You cannot defeat him. You can't, because if you got the backing of the Brahmanas, that's the tejas, that's the power. So then Brihaspati advises all the devas they should actually make themselves invisible and just depart their city. And there's a beautiful description of the city in that 15th chapter of the 8th canto. And then they all hide themselves, all the demigods hide themselves. And then Aditi, who is the mother of all the devas, her husband is Kashyapa Muni. There's two mothers. There's Diti, that's all the demons are manifested from her, and Aditi, those are all the devas are manifested from her. These are the two of the wives of Kashyapa Muni. So Kashyapa Muni is actually away meditating at this time. So for a long period of time, Bali Maharaj reigns in Swagaloka, and he rules the whole of the heavenly kingdoms. He actually rules all the kingdoms, all the worlds, Bali Maharaj. And then finally, when Kashyapa Muni returns to the ashram, Aditi begs him, please make some arrangement that my sons can again get their property, but their Indrapura back and take up their residence in their Swagaloka. So Kashyapa Muni, he preaches to her, why are you so attached to your children, etc. You should be attached to Krishna more. So very beautiful commentaries and so on in this chapter, in these chapters. And then Aditi is fixed that she wants to have her sons liberated back into their kingdom of Swagaloka. So then finally, Kashyapa, he gives her a very potent formula for bringing Krishna, Vishnu, not Krishna, Vishnu, into her presence. It's called a Payo Vrat. And this Payo Vrat was gifted to Kashyapa Muni from Lord Brahma. And it's a very strict Vrat with many aspects in it, many details, and very austere. And Kashyapa Muni says, if you do this very, very strictly, and all the mantras are chanted totally correctly, within 12 days, you will have darshan of Vishnu. So she does that. And as a result of that austerity and that vrat, then Vishnu manifests, first of all, in his complete Vishnu form, with his forearms, helmet, beautiful kastuba mani, and all radiant jewels, yellow cloth, etc. And all the devas, they all are witnessing this. And it's described that he manifests in the most beautiful environment, just as Krishna on Janmashtami, we describe how he manifests, and all the seasonal beauties manifest at the same time, and all the rivers are completely pure at the same time, and the brahmanas' fires, they burn directly without wavering, and everything is in perfection. The astrological constellations are perfect. So when Vishnu appears in this form, all of these external auspicious signs are there to indicate a great, great, great personality. All the devas recognize this, and they all come. And then Diti, then Vishnu, he manifests himself as a small dwarf at that time. He comes first as Vishnu with four arms, and then he comes to show her a small dwarf, takes the form of a small dwarf called Vaman deva. And then all the devas, they come and they worship this little boy. And he's a totally effulgent boy. And they all give him beautiful gifts. Kashyapa gives him a beautiful straw belt. And his mother gives him a deer skin. He's a brahmachari. And he's manifesting himself as a dwarf brahmachari. So this is the appearance of Vamanadeva, and this happens today on Mahadwadasi. This is called Vijay Mahadwadasi. There's 8 Vijay Mahadwadasis in the year. Sometimes they all appear in the same year. Sometimes only a few of them appear. I don't know how many have appeared in this year, but anyway, it's a very auspicious day, this Mahadwadasi, when he appears. And then Vamanadeva goes to the arena where, because Bali Maharaj has been instructed by Sukracharya, because Bali Maharaj has taken over the kingship of Swagaloka. So in order to be the bona fide king of Swagaloka, you should perform 100 Ashwamedha sacrifices. So the descendants of Brigu are instructing Bali Maharaj to perform these 100 Ashwamedha sacrifices. So Bali Maharaj is very much involved in performing these very elaborate sacrifices to get the potency to actually rule the kingdom of Indra. So in one of these sacrifices, then Vaman deva, it's described when he's walking, his feet are so powerful on Mother Earth that the residents in the yagya, they are all aware some extraordinary personality is coming. And they can see by his effulgence, even before he arrives, this is really an impressive personality. So then Vamana Dev, he comes into the arena with an enormous effulgence. And all the Brahmanas, they all stand up and acknowledge, this is an extremely potent personality. And he comes to Bali Maharaj, who's a very munificent person. Bali Maharaj is one of the 12 Mahajans. He's an extremely charitable person. And he gives copious amounts of charity. And he's offering Vamana Deva, he says, well, how can I serve you? He can recognize this is a great, extraordinary personality. I want to serve him. That's how his heart feels. So then Vamana Deva, he requests, well, you please just give me 3 paces of land. And Bali Maharaj, he laughs. He says, oh, you have such beautiful effulgence, etc., but you're very stupid. You don't have much intelligence. Why are you asking me just for 3 paces of land? I can give you the whole world. I own the 3 worlds. I'm the ruler of the 3 worlds. I can give you anything. I can give you villages, cities, wives, anything, any amounts of wealth and money. And then Vamana Deva, he says, for a brahmachari, we only need 3 steps. If 3 steps of land won't satisfy the senses, then no amount of extra land or opulences are ever going to satisfy the senses. In other words, if you're not self-satisfied in your consciousness, how you are, and then he begins to glorify Bali Maharaj's ancestors, who are Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, just to make them feel at ease. He glorifies them. But Sukracharya, he has vision and he knows this is Vishnu come to trick Bali Maharaj out of all his possessions. And Sukracharya is very attached to the possessions of Bali Maharaj. He's getting paid for his job, for his services. So Sukracharya has definitely some motivation for keeping Bali Maharaj instated as the king of Swagaloka. So Bali Maharaj, he makes the promise to Vamana Deva, yes, I will give you this 3 steps of land. And at that time, he performs Archaman. But then after that, Sukracharya comes and instructs him, says, no, don't do this. And he tells him how he can legitimately get out of his promise. But Bali Maharaj, he is totally fixed in his promise. He says there's nothing worse, no heavier weight on Mother Earth than someone who neglects his promise. Someone who goes back on his promise, then he is destined for future generations to be condemned. So Bali Maharaj is a very noble person, in fact. And Sukracharya, because Brihaspati, when he was telling Indra, because Indra was asking, well, how long do we have to stay invisible and hide from Bali Maharaj? And at that time, Brihaspati says, you will defeat the demons when Bali Maharaj offends the Brahmanas. So this to his guru, Sukracharya, because he doesn't follow the advice of Sukracharya. He neglects the advice of Sukracharya. And even there's a pastime where Sukracharya, when he's doing the final archman, then Sukracharya, he comes in the spout of the cup where the archaman is being performed. And Bali Maharaj, he can see there's some blockage. So he takes a straw and he pushes it inside and it takes out the eye of Sukracharya. So Sukracharya is trying to stop this happening. But then Vindyavali, the wife of Bali Maharaj, she comes quickly with a beautiful golden pot filled with pure water to wash the lotus feet of Vamana Deva. And they wash his lotus feet, they put the water on their heads, and they all become totally sanctified by this because it's Vishnu directly. And then, so Vidyavali, she sort of is encouraging her husband to keep on the same track that he's doing and disregard the orders of Sukracharya. And then Bali Maharaj, he allows Vamana Deva to take his 3 steps. He performs the Archman, and he doesn't directly say to Sukracharya, I'm not going to follow your advice. He just doesn't follow his advice because he feels that by saying the words to the spiritual master, that will be very bad for him. So he doesn't actually speak to him that. He just ignores him. And that's when Sukracharya comes in the spout like that. But then Vamana Deva, when Archaman has been performed and Bali Maharaj is thinking, well, if he is the Supreme Lord, because this is what Sukracharya is saying, then let him take everything from me. What if it's his, it's already his. He has that mentality. His grandfather is Prahlad Maharaj. Bali Maharaj's grandfather is Prahlad. Bali Maharaj's father is Virochan, and his father is Prahlad Maharaj. So he's coming in this line of devotees, but they're in the family of demons. They're born in the family of demons. Hiranyakashipu is their great-great-great-grandfather, Hiranyaksha, etc. So then they're in the demon class, the demon race. So then when Vamana Deva understands that now everything has been sanctioned for his gift of 3 paces of land, then he grows to such a phenomenal sight. Everyone is just like completely shocked, they've never seen such an extraordinary. And with 1 step, he covers the whole of the lower planetary systems. And the 2nd step he takes, he covers the entire Brahmand. There's nothing left from Tapaloka, Mahaloka, Janaloka, Brahmaloka. And when his foot comes up to Brahmaloka, all the Brahmins there, they all are in total honor of Vishnu's foot coming into their abode. And they perform beautiful archan of his feet and bathe. And it's described then that that water is what is the Ganga today. It's also described that the Ganga today is the water that Bali Maharaj washed his lotus feet with. And it's also described that when Vamana Deva takes his 2nd step, he makes with his toenail a little cut in the universal shell. And from there, Ganga Devi comes through, washing his feet at the same time. So there's 3 aspects of Vamana Deva benedicting Ganga Devi to come to this world. And then, of course, there's the pastime later on of Bhagirat actually bringing, because this was in the higher regions. The Ganga Devi was flowing in just the celestial regions at that time, not on Earth planet. That's another whole pastime that takes place. So then when Vamana Deva had secured 2 steps, then he turns to Bali Maharaj and said, so where will I place my 3rd step? You're a criminal, he says to Bali Maharaj. You've told me I can have 3 steps, but now I've already taken 2 steps. Where will I place my 3rd step? And he orders Garuda, his carrier, to tie him up, to bind him with the ropes of Varuna, because he's not been able to fulfill his promise of giving the 3 steps of land. So he's gone back. And then Bali Maharaj, of course, is devastated by this. And he looks towards his wife at that time, Vindyavali, and she indicates, get his 3rd step on your head. So his wife is quite much prominently portrayed in the pastime, in the Bhagavatam. So Vidyavali, she indicates to Bali Maharaj at that time, this is what, because Vidyavali has already initiated the bathing of his feet, and now she's indicating, great devotee, obviously, where the third step should go. So then Vishnu, he places his third step on the head of Bali Maharaj. And at that time, he goes down to Sutala Loka, which is his eternal, which is his residence. And then Bali Maharaj, before he actually goes, there's a lot of dialogue happening in the Bhagavatam at this time. It's very, very beautiful. But Bali Maharaj then tricks Vamanadev. It was like Vamanadev tricked Bali Maharaj. So now Bali Maharaj tricks Vamanadev. And Vamanadev actually is very pleased indeed with Bali Maharaj's mood and Bali Maharaj's submissiveness, and principally Bali Maharaj's devotion, because it's Bali Maharaj's devotion that has touched Vishnu. He sees he's completely devoted to Dharma. He will not go back on his word, etc., like that. And he's devoted also to Vishnu because he's disregarded the order of his spiritual master. So Bali Maharaj, in Vishnu is very pleased with him. And then when Bali Maharaj is released from the ropes, actually Prahlad Maharaj comes also at that time, and Lord Brahma comes, and Shivji comes, and they all request Vishnu to please be merciful to Bali Maharaj. He gave you everything. Now you have to be merciful to him. So Bali Maharaj, he's begging for mercy. And then Vishnu, he says, all right, what mercy do you want? What benediction do you want? And then Bali Maharaj, he says, in my palace in Sutal Loka, where you've ordered me to return to, there are 50 gates. I want you to take up residence on every gate that's there. And every time I come in or go out, I want to remember you. I want to see you. This is the extent of Bali Maharaj's devotion. Bali Maharaj is a really incredible personality. So Vamanadev, he smiles and he acquiesces. He becomes the gatekeeper. But sometime later, Lakshmi Devi, she becomes unhappy that her husband hasn't returned. So then there's a whole pastime when Lakshmi Devi comes, disguised as an old Brahmani, and she begs Bali Maharaj for some charity. And Bali Maharaj, of course, he's such a munificent person. He says, okay. And then Lakshmi Devi, she says, I want him. I want Vamana Dev. And Bali Maharaj, he has to return Vamana. And then he recognizes her, oh, you're Lakshmi Devi. And then Vamana Dev, he manifests as a partial manifestation for Bali Maharaj. And the eternal Vamana Dev returns to his spiritual planet with Lakshmi Dev. So then today, even Vamana Dev is residing. But there are so many beautiful teachings within this Bali Maharaj Charita, we can say, or Vamana Dev Charita. And this all is celebrated today, this extraordinary pastime of Krishna, Vishnu, tricking this demonic king. He's not demonic culturally, so to speak. He's like he's full of devotion, but he's born in the demon family. Actually, when the demons saw what was happening to Bali, that he was being bound by those ropes of Varuna, they all attacked. They attacked Vishnu at that time. Bali Maharaj was telling them, don't attack. Don't. Now we don't have the support of the Brahmins. Bali Maharaj knew already that because he had not listened to Sukracharya, that the Brahmins would withdraw their power. The only reason why Bali Maharaj had all that power to go and attack Indra was because of the power, the Brahman Tejas, the power coming from the Brahmins' mantras, etc., for him. And when that power of the Brahmins is there, nothing can actually interfere. But as soon as he committed offense to the Brahmins, which was Sukracharya, then that power was withdrawn. And then the demons, the devas, could easily get their kingdom back. So then the demons, they were defeated actually by Vishnu. He defeats the demons, and then they very quickly the devas, they return, And they take Vamana Deva first of all into their city and they celebrate with him. He's called Upendra also, which is like the brother of Indra. And then after the Devas have celebrated and worshipped Vamana Deva, then Vamana Deva takes up that post at Sutala Loka, which is in the lower regions with Bali Maharaj. So this is a very inspiring pastime. When you read it in the Bhagavatam, it's so filled with teachings about noble behavior, which is coming from Bali Maharaj, and the beauty and power and potency of Vamana Deva, of Vishnu himself, and the honor that all the Devas give to Vamana Deva, their dharmic vision that they can see who is Vamana Deva straight away, and they honor him. So it's a very devotional pastime, in fact, even though it's spearheaded by the demons, so to speak. But it's very devoted because nothing can actually transgress Dharma. You can't go out of the gates of Dharma really very extensively. It always comes back to the principles of Dharma everywhere. So Krishna, he establishes that Dharma. So today we celebrate the appearance of Vamana Deva today. And if we hear this pastime, if we remember this pastime, then the Falshruti on the Bhagavatam is that all auspiciousness will come to the hearers of these pastimes if we're listening to that carefully. So Srila Vaman deva ki jai, Srila Jiva Goswami Pad ki jai, Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. So if there's any questions about that at all, or is anyone on the thread wants to ask any questions, have any doubts or any aspect like that? It's an amazing pastime. How the demons, they show their true respectful natures, in fact, even though they are in the bodies of demons. But because of Grandfather Prahlad generating purity into their line, they are able to hold on to those very higher dharmic moods. So, Srila Bali Maharaj ki jai, Vamana Deva Maharaj ki jai, and Jiva Goswami Pad ki jai. Anantakota Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol. Panchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhaveva cha, Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha.